ago at NCECA, where she was giving a panel discussion. It was really fabulous, and now she's one of my good friends.
Oh, I love that. I'm honored. Really quick, how many people don't know who Sharon is? Everybody knows who you are. It doesn't even matter that you're right. So, I don't have to introduce you. I was going to say that we have a wonderful panel, and thank you all for coming. We want to thank the School of Art and Design at Western Carolina University and Jennifer Printz for introduce the panelists.
How much relief do I have?
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Sharon. That's Heather May. It's great. I'm so grateful to be here. Is this?
I don't even need a microphone.
But my last name is this too reverberating?
Too much? A little bit. Down?
Yeah. I don't even need any, but I'll pass around. Okay, can you hear me?
do a test?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're not done.
Hello, hello, hello.
Jeannie, good? Want the microphone?
Hello? In the back? All right, good. Loud and clear. Okay, great. That's my last name. Okay, so I just want to give some kind of context why we're here today. So, and I also am going to just shout out a few other people to thank people for us being here. And I'm going to introduce these amazing people in just a moment too. But this event is a part of a 90-stop tour for a book called Last Artist Standing, Living and Sustaining a Creative Life Over 50. And some of you who are younger than 50 might even say, well, why am I here? Well, it's because usually I should say that I should do better than this. I should say across the country, we have found that a lot of schools do not actually talk about the kind of things that we're going to talk about this evening. So I'm an artist, and I'm also a fierce advocate for artists. And my husband and I have a nonprofit organization called the Institute for Sustained Creativity. And we have, I've edited 3 books. The books are basically platforms for conversations just like this. They are 3 books. We started in 2013. We went on 2 tours for 5 years. We met we went to 164 stops and met 12,000 people during that time. Collected data for the Ford Foundation and other foundations, shared it with them, and started to also ask people in the audience to share what their needs and wants are. From those tours, people got jobs, exhibition opportunities, certainly validation. There was follow-up from that. And in this tour, Vince, what is this? That's my husband, Vince. What is what's this stop? 23rd? 23rd out of 90. So through 2027, we've met about 1,500 people during this time. And during this time, I've situated these discussions in such a way where everyone in here has the opportunity to share their needs. Now, you may not want to do that, but it's highly effective. Heather May said that I was in NCECA with her, which is a conference in Detroit. We had over 300 people in the audience for this discussion. Probably the most popular discussion, has nothing to do with me, has to do with the needs of artists today. So I asked everyone in the audience, how many people ever ask for help? I don't know, did you count? I think there was like 5 or 6 people.
There weren't many.
I couldn't believe it. And I was like, okay, well, how can I know what you need? Or how can anyone know what you need if you're not going to tell people? And you're not going to have a cultural reciprocity with other people to actually have exchange and build your life, a sustainable life. So, the format of this is, I'm going to introduce these people. I am not going to read all their bios because we will never leave and we won't get to your needs. So I'm going to skip through the bios. And you can always look up their websites and find out more information, or we'll have time afterwards and you can talk with them. Is that okay with you? Okay, great. So I think I asked before. So what we're going to do is we are going to have a warm-up for all of you. Jeannie, Luis, and Jennifer all received questions in advance, sample questions. We won't get to all of them, but basically they're going to be about revealing how they, points in their lives, sustained their creative life or towards sustaining creative life, and that should hopefully warm up everybody here to be able to share their questions and their needs. So we're going to go on for about, let's see, like till, I don't know, until 7:15-ish or 7:10, so like a half hour. And then after that, and I'll give you a warning and say like 4 minutes later, and then all of you will ask questions, right? Okay, I would just say too one thing, that this probably won't ever happen like this again. This is a moment in time. So take advantage of it, honestly. I'm a facilitator, but you can also contact us after this. We're going around the country, but you can email us or through our website if you can't talk to me afterwards. These three are the people that you will be able to talk to after this event because they live here in the vicinity. So, right? You live here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Got that right. Okay, so to my left is Jeannie Regan. Okay, and I first met Jeannie because Jeannie was referred to me from Jennifer Printz and Tracy. Oh, I love her. So Tracy Morgan, right there, during the exhibition that I had, and we just got along so well, and she's very fierce. She is a rotating, this is what she says, a rotating combination of artist, designer, mom, and immigrant. So she's not, most artists wear a lot of hats. So she is a curator at the North Carolina Arboretum, and she oversees a lot of exhibitions, indoor and outdoor, right? And then what I loved and remembered and checked with you outside is that you co-founded the Mall Rats. Okay, can you just share what that is? I know you told me, but I would love to know more.
Mall Rats is radical artists taking up space, and essentially we convinced the Asheville Mall to let us take up residence there, and they haven't kicked us out yet. So we do rotating shows, they're always open call, free to participate, 0 barriers to entry. I think we've served about 160 artists in less than a year, which has been incredible.
That's so great. I have to talk to you about. There are a few. There's an organization in Florida that's doing the same. Well, I'd love. Do you know about that?
We are not the only ones.
I think it's great that you're doing that. I'm really grateful that you would share this too. So diagnosed with bipolar type 2 in your 30s, you became very interested in the high numbers of bipolar people in creative fields and what it is about bipolar brains, that predisposes them to creative moments. What does that mean?
A lot of bipolar people in the arts fall into that creative genius category. And within the bipolar community, there's a sort of sense that the hypomania-mania phase is where that creative genius kind of exists in. So there's often this tension between getting medication that will stop that from happening and how that will affect your artistic career. So there's a lot of back and forth within that community about this. But there's something there to it, like how it is that so many bipolar people are in the arts or are in that creative genius mode. It's really interesting to me, and I sort of tried to dig into why that happens, where do creative ideas come from in general, not just within bipolar people, but in general, what makes a good idea, what makes a creative idea. So that's something that I dug into in my second year of my second.
Can I touch you? Yes. It's so amazing. I'm grateful. Thank you. No, seriously, you wanted to ask. Thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, so to the left of Jeannie is Luis Sahagún. Okay, wow, we've got some fans in the audience. You're an interdisciplinary artist, right?
Yeah.
And you practice, whose practice weaves Mexican craft traditions, and you reimagine ancestral rituals as transformative acts of healing. So can you share a little bit about how you do that? Like, in which forms do you do that in your practice?
Well, I'll talk a little bit deeper about that in my responses, but really I think what that statement talks about is like in the context of the art world, you know, like what is it that our spirit is missing, or that the art world sucks out of us, and how can we use, you know, histories of craft and contemporary art making and creativity to restore our own power and our own healing, and I call it recovering our sacredness.
You know, there's a lot of art worlds though. There's not just one art world. So do you intersect with a lot of other art worlds besides that one that you're referring to?
Well, of course, inherently, but I mean, when I think of art world with the capital A, I think of like, you know, we're here in the system with like, it's a Master's in Fine Arts programs and academia. So for me, like, the art world is separate from like art villages or art communities, separate than the mall rats. When I think of, with the capital A, I think of art fairs, I think of like certain types of even like blue chip galleries. I mean, there's like, the art world is kind of general, but I'm also talking about this idea of the art world. And I was going to talk about it here earlier, but I'll just jump into it. I think of the art world as like, when through my lens in academia, in the MFA program, I was sold on this promise that the art world is this elusive promise of a kingdom, that if I work hard enough, that if I get to my, what was it, magnus opus, that I'm going to be worthy, fulfilled, and when that may or may not happen, you end up realizing that it was a false promise. And so what ends up happening is I realized personally that I was turning my culture into currency, my experiences into consumerism. And so it's like, how did that affect me? It affected me by feeling envious of my peers, of my colleagues, comparing myself, never feeling like enough, ideas of self-worth, productivity. And so like the way that I create a sustainable practice, creative practice, is by finding my sacredness, to identifying like what are the things that I lost myself in, and how does it manifest into my spirit. So the ideas of like blockage, envy, rage, and like using craft and art making to find ways to make that where I could retrieve parts of my fragmented self from that.
I mean, we're gonna, yeah, talk about that further, but I just also want to say, and thank you for sharing. Also, you have experience in academia because you received your BFA from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale and an MFA from Northern Illinois, and then your work has been in all these museums, and also you've exhibited at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, Ogden Contemporary, Roswell Museum of Art Center, etc. So do you feel like being in these environments, you're disrupting those institutions?
I think each situation is different. I feel that in some, maybe I thought I was disrupting, but I was still being extracted. I could be specific. Well,
you don't have to yet.
We're moving, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. And when you said kingdom, yeah, I've been promised the queendom too, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I get, yeah, we're going to dig into that. So Jennifer Printz, she graduated from BFA from Eastern Tennessee State University, which is how far from here? I forgot. An hour.
ETSU is an hour.
Yeah, which is amazing. And you completed your Master's of Fine Art in 2001 from the University of Georgia. And I'm so excited because you are new here at Western Carolina University. So how long have you been here for?
Since August.
Wow, I'm so happy you're here. So and I'm hoping that all the students are thrilled, right? You're absolutely thrilled. There you go. That's what I want to hear. So you have a multidisciplinary practice, and what I love and we talked about today is you have gone to so many residencies. So what, can you divulge to where you're going this summer? So why do you like doing that? And I can rattle off a lot of the residencies that you've gone to, but it's a long list. There's something about residencies, I think, that it seems like you really love. So tell me about that.
Yeah, well, first this summer I'm doing a residency at the Rothko Museum in Latvia. And I feel like for me, as a person who is artist academic, residencies give me that opportunity for that really intense focus. It's like I can go, I can just make my practice. Depending on the residency, and they're all different, I get to engage with a new community, I get to explore and see new culture, museums. So it really
back to your academic work?
Well, I think, the exposure always kind of comes back in. It's like the fact that first of all, I'm modeling being an artist, getting out into the world and making and going through different distribution channels, but also that exposure to artists from around the world. It's like right now, I'm like just working today in Latvia. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know by the time I come back in August, I will know a very strong handful that then I can exchange with my students and back and forth that way.
So great. And then one other question about your I love skipping through bios because sometimes when you read bios, you have no idea how people got things, or it's just a list of things. So one other thing, I'm going to talk about you. I don't know if a lot of people know that you delved into public art as an extension of your practice.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that. Like, how does that connect with what you do in the studio?
Well, I think it's a different way of working that's really exciting because when we go into just the studio, we can close the door and do what we want. But when we're working in public art, we're opening up the dialogue to a community, and we want to serve the community and do something that is of benefit or allows for conversation within the community. So right now, I'm working with 3 students on a sculpture project in honor of William Bartram, who was an 18th century explorer. And so as we've been working on this, it's like, how do we do this in a way that benefits that community, that enlightens them in an engaging way, that doesn't just fall into the tropes of a big monumental sculpture of a historic white man. So that we've had a lot of conversation about that. We've done a deep dive into Bartram and learned so much, and we're really excited for that to be moving forward.
I love it. It's great. Well, I'm so grateful you all are here. I'm going to leave my big gratitude to the end. I just want to be able to dive right in. So Jeannie.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask everyone that first question I gave. So how do you sustain your creative life? In meaning that financially, emotionally, and physically today. So what does it mean to sustain your creative life? Like, you have children. One child. And how old is your child?
She's 13.
And so how do you manage that?
It's really hard.
Yeah. So can you talk about like because this is about what Luis you were talking about, like that promise. This is really getting into the weeds. So you don't have to get into how much you spend on your groceries or anything like that. I just would like to know, like, how do you juggle that, and how do you have the rats collected and all of that too?
Okay, so I work a lot, and I had to figure out a way to do my art practice literally in the car, waiting for her to finish dance practice, parking under a street light close to where there was Wi-Fi from a cafe, with my laptop open, trying to get in a little bit of work done before, pick her up, go home, do dinner, do all that, get on the computer again late at night. I probably sleep 5 hours a night. I'm lucky. So I think of my time as confetti. Just confetti sprinkled all over, and I just have to make the most of it when I get that little moment. And that can be tough because I think about people going to residencies and going, it just sounds so dreamy. But I also know that this is just now. It won't always be like this. So there's lots of things that are very enjoyable about now, and lots of things that are a little tough, like parking under a street lamp from a place that has Wi-Fi, hoping that you can make it work. Thank goodness for the Zoom blur background, because I've done numerous calls.
Oh my God, that's great.
Attempted to look professional, and there's like the headrest of my car. So yeah, essentially you have to be adaptable. I have to be very adaptable. I have to accept limitations, and some of those limitations are I have a job, and I have things that I have to do as a parent. But I just try and maintain an optimism that it'll be okay, and that it's worth it, and that 5 hours sleep won't kill me. That sort of thing.
So I have a follow-up. So for me, there is no such thing as a day job because you carry your ideas wherever you go. It sounds like your work is really intentional. So in meaning how you have an awareness of time. Do you consider, you said job, do you consider your work this form of income as a job, or does it also help the other parts of your life?
I was very, very lucky to get a good big girl job straight out of school. very lucky, and I realize that is not everybody's reality, so I'm very grateful and hugely appreciative of the fact that I walked into a job as a curator, so I'm around art all the time, and I get to make programs, I get to do projects that are art related. The Arboretum is in an interesting turning point. They've never really had that much contemporary art before, so sometimes they're a little bit like, what?
That's good.
But they've been really open-minded and fantastic. I'm very lucky that I landed there because they've been amazing. So like my day-to-day was installing art from the new Couture Cherokee Language Immersion School. They sent over a whole bunch of air art, so we installed that. And having them get treated in a proper art way, like everything was like proper lights, proper cabinets, proper sculpture stands, making sure they felt like everything was real. That was a wonderful experience. Weirdly, my job also involves signs at the Arboretum, so I've been working on a signage project. But aside from that, I get to plan exhibitions, plan artist talks, think about long-term planning. Like right now, we're working on what will be the big 2029 show because I just had that enormous Thomas Dando Trolls show. So that's just what I do with my day. So it definitely feeds into my practice, and I try and maintain my personal mission, which is why they hired me apparently, was my ability to kind of do things within the community. So I try and build in community stuff into all the projects that I do. So I just, like if I keep that, in my back pocket, I feel like I'm doing my practice, like throughout the day, even if I am doing, there is my day job, there's some confetti time.
No day job.
There's the job to.
Sorry. It's just my thing because I feel like that means that an artist is separate. Like, does it mean that we're not real artists because we have different forms of income? But you're still an artist, right? Doesn't make you any less of an artist, right?
Thanks.
Okay, that's great.
It's really.
I interrupted you. Sorry, rudely. But did you want to say anything further?
I think for anyone who is in the same boat, especially if you have kids and you're feeling like, is what I do a hobby, just let's chat. Let's talk afterwards, because I think it's really easy as a mom to be hard on yourself about everything. And then when you're a mom and an artist, you add an extra layer of being hard on yourself and expectations that are probably really unnecessary. That just get in the way of you actually having fun. So,
thank you. So Luis, what do you think? So how do you sustain your life financially, emotionally, and physically? And what does it mean to sustain your creative life?
So, I think to add to the conversation, I think my experience is a little bit different. Where when I went to school to get my MFA a little older, and I had this idea that in order to succeed and to be ambitious, that I needed to have a lot of sacrifice. So I sacrificed finding love. I sacrificed relationships. So I prioritized, it was like my job to be best artist, make the best work that I could. I sacrificed holidays. I don't want to see my family. And so there's a lot of loss and grief that I still kind of deal with that. I also have a history, I grew up here undocumented. I worked in the labor sector for many years. I grew up in the hood, and so when I got to college, there was also a lot of guilt about me being able to have leisure time, to be able to have a studio as big as this, and do whatever I wanted. So I was always just pushing my body through its limits because I needed to somehow feel worthy of the leisure, the time that I had. So for many years, since that is 2015, 2016, I've been prioritizing residencies and living mostly alone. I've had partners, but I had relationships that lasted a long time. But that was more recent years, and so I think sometimes when I hear you say I have children or I have this, it's also kind of oh yeah, it's really nice. There's parts of my life that I also kind of gave away that I sacrificed to be where I am. Right now, financially, the way that I earn my living is through, I love doing visiting artist positions. It's really nice because you get a good salary and then you just teach and you're out. They give you a lot of resources, studio time. So I've been fortunate enough to have gallery representation, and that's also like something that I really enjoy and love. It's kind of hard to balance sometimes relationships with galleries, but I really do enjoy that relationship as well. So I've been fortunate to have collectors that keep an eye on the work that I do, and so I'm able to sell some work. I have incredible friends that exhibit my work and also spread my work across different areas. And, so I get some of my money as well from sales. Some of the things that I really want to do now, I want to shift, is like, I just think about finding ways to make work that is more in relationship with my communities. And so instead of making like objects necessarily that are for sale, I want to create and developing rituals and performances and skin markings as a way to connect with my community, facilitate healing, but also have like income coming in as well, so like it stays within the community and keeps moving.
I mean, when you say representation, that word sort of bothers me because it's not what it was, gallery representation in the 50s, let's say, or what has been described in a colonized art history. So that the relationships you have, do you have a steady stream of sales? Or it goes in and out? Because most artists that I know, there's only 2% of the whole world, basically, that sustains a creative life consistently from that one part of the ecosystem. And so I would love for that to be sort of like, if you can talk about that reality, because the way I hear it from you, it sounds like, oh, well, my representation covers everything, but it may not. You know, it may be that it may, and also it's not common for, I think, in the world. But also, which I mentioned to you earlier in an email, I really love that you, like a lot of other indigenous artists, especially artists that I've met through the state of Alaska, that you sell other work that supports on your website, like shirts and other things that a lot of artists would think that, well, that doesn't make me a real artist, but it is, it does. So can you talk about those two things?
Yeah. I don't know if I feel comfortable identifying myself as an indigenous artist. I'm of indigenous descent through the lens of Chicanismo and Mestizaje. I'm interested in the connection of indigeneity and selling artifacts on my website. And we can talk a little about that. But I mean, you've done the research, and I'm not sure, but like, I have a lot of friends that make a living with gallery representation. It goes back to this idea of like, we need to work really hard and make the sacrifices so that then you could get gallery representation. And I teach a lot. When I teach, I talk to my students to think about like, think about how many people are graduating with MFAs and BFAs and like how many opportunities there are, right? So I'm not saying that that's the only way. I don't think it is at all. But I'd also be lying if I didn't tell you that like more than a good amount of artists that I know have a successful living through gallery representation. Yeah, I would a large number.
Consistent for you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, great. So Jen, can you also talk about what does it mean to sustain your career life?
Well, I think I'm hearing a theme of sacrifice a little bit here, and I think having just had a big birthday this year, I just turned 50.
Yes.
My lens is a little different, and I was thinking about this as like, it's more about nourishing myself, my life right now, right? It's like, I think I know I'm not the only person in this audience who has older loved ones who are dealing with dementia. So the filter is more like, how do I nourish myself so that I can live a very long, sustainable life? So I hope I'm not the only woman who did their squats today. But then it's interesting, nourishing myself and nourishing my practice, how the two start to go hand in hand, because we know that people who are making things with their hands and are keeping that activity up, it's good for their their mental health, and it prevents that cognitive decline. So I feel like the two is like working out makes me stronger, but then I feel better in the studio. It gives me the energy for a long teaching day. Like it all kind of, I see it all kind of coming together, and it's like now at that point where it's like, I know as an artist I'll be making until the end, whenever that is, but it's like, let's just have a good, nourished life. And I'm kind of, I want to be at that place where I am getting to bed and getting more than 5 hours worth of sleep, because I've done that for way too long, and eating healthy food and trying to avoid the burnout and those kind of things, which I've done many, many, many years throughout my life.
Yeah. So all three of you have had really different lives, to me, it seems like, all three, and different opportunities in your lives. And I would love to find out, like, how have you gotten those opportunities? So, and Luis, I prepped this in the email. I said, you know, you have, what bothers me about bios, like I said, is that we don't know how people actually get these opportunities to show their work or to meet people, because I truly believe, and I wonder if you all agree, that it's relationships with others that makes this happen, the glue happen. So Louise, if you can start. So tell me how your work has been collected in some of these museums, like, Fidelity is a business, but in their collection, or Anderson Museum of Contemporary Art. How did that happen? Just to, you know, we were talking about you were talking about that promise, which I love that you said that. That's like smoke and mirrors, so I want to get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, when I graduated with my MFA, I didn't sell anything for like 10 years. My work was more rooted on social justice.
Yeah.
I started making sales through galleries. Like, a gallery contacted me on Instagram. I was posting, like, hey, do you want to be part of this group show? I said yes. I priced my work way too low, and they're like, is this too low? Like, price it higher, or do you want to have a conversation? And I bring this story because I think it's important. I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation, because my work is too low. And then the gallery was like, great. And then when we had through Zoom the conversation, I was able to show them all of my work. And then they're like, oh wow. So I used it as an opportunity to hook them, right? And then it also was going to be helpful for me. So I was being strategic, and it worked, and they liked my work. And then this was a gallery in New York, and then the gallery in New York gave me a solo show. Then she had her artist be in an art fair, and I wasn't even in the art fair, but she had a little portfolio with pictures of my work. There's this gallery in LA, and she was like, hey, check out the artist, do you like their work? And they're like, yeah, I love the work. They contacted me, can you do a show in LA? I said yes. I had this show in LA, and I sold all those pieces because of that gallery.
Great. So it's like telephone. In a way. So, no, for the students who are new here, okay, it's really important, because I don't think that this is talked about in art school at all. So it's getting better across the country, but, so Instagram was the first thing. And then showing your work on Instagram, and then how much did you post? Did you post every day, or were you active on it?
I'm terrible at posting on Instagram.
But then, I'm saying then.
No, I'm not lying. I think, you know, I sometimes, like, how does success look like? How does it come? I don't know. I honestly think, like, that was around the time my mom died. I sometimes think that my mom has been moving some things around, hustling up there. Because, like, I don't even post that much. Like, I just posted some pieces. Things happen, you know. I wish I knew an equation so I could replicate it, but, like, it just kind of happened that way. Maybe right time, right place, luck, you know. But, yeah, and, like, my relationship with Instagram is very complicated. I'm sure maybe a lot of folks relate. Like, I usually I have all these fantasies of, like, oh, one day I'm gonna be posting so good, I'm gonna do a podcast, I'm also gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And, like, I'll do, like, a performance, and I'll post, like, 6 months later. Like, hey, you know, by the way, I did this cool thing, like, you know. So I think it was just circumstance. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I could really.
Well, also you said you said yes to things too. But it seems like you were strategic, which is great, which you said. So Jeannie, how did you start the Mall Rats?
I had this idea about wanting to show art at the mall, and with my trademarked unearned confidence, I went to the mall office and asked about it, and I just sat there until the general manager agreed to talk to me. And he eventually came out and was like,
Persistence.
yes, and he eventually came out. He was very sweet and very nervous, and he was like, if I talk to you now, will you go? I said, yes. That's how
so good.
our incredible relationship began, and the mall have been incredible partners, like really, really great, and it's been interesting because in our first show, like one of the mall security guards put up a piece, and it was really fun watching her walk past and look at it, and then walk past again and look at it. It was a very sweet moment, but I think I got really good at not being embarrassed about asking for things. So I was not embarrassed talking to the general manager, and not embarrassed pushing past his secretary. Like, not at all embarrassed about taking up that space, because I just felt like it had to happen. And they gave in either through fear or agreeing to do it. But eventually I did leave, and we're still going.
That's so great. I love hearing these backstories. So Jennifer, so you have a great job at teaching. Teaching jobs are privileged positions, as I would say.
Yeah.
And how do you, knowing that that's a privilege, and you're a very generous person, tell me how, you positioned yourself in academia. Why did you do that? Number one. Number two, how does that then, you sort of talked about it in public art, like with your students as, it sounds like co-producers, or in this project that you're working on. So how do you use that opportunity to give other opportunities to others?
Great question. I think I ended up in academia because when I started off as a young artist, first in my undergrad situation, and then in part in grad school, I don't know that I saw other models.
Interesting.
And so I was really hell-bent to make it happen. Hell-bent to the point that the first year I applied for a teaching job, back in the days when we actually sent slides, I sent out 64 applications.
There you go.
And then from there, it was developing the skills, having people do mock interviews with me, working on my letters, and everything that just kind of got that started. And now at this point in my career, I've taught community college, 4-year public, 4-year private, and it's been an amazing ride. And I think why I'm still here and what I love about it is the opportunity to see students come into their own, and for great things to happen for them to go out into the world. So I feel like that's the exciting thing, is like to have a conversation with a student and ask them what their goals are, what their needs are, and then to help connect them with either a person so that they can end up teaching workshops for the North Carolina Museum of Art like Bobby's doing, or for Staj, who's in the back row, who's working on a summer project. So those kind of things is what makes it exciting, because it's like, in academia we talk about experiential teaching, and that's been a buzzword for a phrase for a very long time, but I feel like there's something in the arts where we can really make that happen. And what I love about working with graduate students too is we can let go of the hierarchies. It's good. And we can just be like, in this public art project, it's like, we're just 4 artists around the table brainstorming ideas and working through things. And I tell them a lot, it's like, okay, that's what we're wanting to do. It's like you're making you into we want you to be our colleagues, start to see yourself.
Which is so good. That's so great. Okay, 2 more questions. This is the warning. 2 questions. Briefly, I want to ask you all. Artists contribute to the well-being of others. We're also the backbone of intangible freedom of speech across many visual languages worldwide, and yet we rarely receive the same benefits or support support given to those who rely on our work, okay? Pragmatically and practically, Jeannie, I'm gonna start with this. What small steps can be taken to change this inequitable imbalance? How can we, as a community of artists, more effectively raise the value of artists today in today's culture? Well, I gave you this question. Yes, I did. It is in here. This is always happens to me. It's right here. It's right here. Do you want to read it? Okay.
Okay, so first of all, I want to ask, why do you think raising the profile of artists will do anything, or why that's a fight worthy of doing? In that sense, like, if we're trying to convince people of the need for us, or convince people of the necessity and the value of artists, like, is that even worthwhile? Like, if they can't see it.
I don't think that I'm not saying I'm convincing. I do believe that, you know, and Luis, you said this too, like, again, I love what you said about that promise from MFA programs in this art world that is isolated in white walls, okay? So then a lot of artists are framed in such a way where we're not integral in society or seen in other aspects or fields in society. Whereas you did this collective and have this crossover in an environment, that's why I asked you first. So in what you're doing, just by being there, it seems like you're raising the value of artists by showing up. What do you think about that?
I mean, yes, I think people don't necessarily see artists when they look at Mallrats' work. I think they see creative endeavor and output, and they see themselves in it. They look at it and go, I think I could do that, which is actually what I'm primarily hoping for. That they'll see a painting and go, oh, I could do that, or I wonder how they did that, and then they'll go off and do it. So I think with Mallrats, one of the reasons we're in that space is intentional because the audience in that mall oftentimes will see no other art than advertising. And it's these grainy jeans is the only thing they'll see in terms of art. So intersecting in that space feels important for that reason, but also for the reason of like creating the sense that anyone can create these things. So that's why the Mallrats shows there is zero barrier to entry. There's no fee, there's no panel, there's nothing. It's you turn up on this day, at this time with work that's ready to hang, and we'll hang it till we run out of room. And there's next to no opportunities like that in our area for people to show for free. And part of the reason we do that is because we know for a lot of artists, if you have no shows on your resume, you can't get a show. So it's one of those like things, so we help people do that and get that experience and that kind of stuff. Our shows are great because there's no heartbreak as opposed to applying for every other show. But yeah, part of it is about, I think not so much about the artists, like bring the profile of artists up, but bring the profile of creative endeavor and creative experience.
So what, to answer the question then, what small steps can be taken for, let's say, some people in the audience and students who want to know how can they have that visibility as a creative endeavor?
Show your work. Like, don't wait for an invitation. Find a way to put it out. I remember in my final year of my BFA program, this is 5 days no sleep, lots of Red Bull, but I photocopied this like sketchbook, big sketchbook, and went around town and just covered subway underpasses, train stations, bus stops, everything with it, and then kind of took photos of it. But it was a way of like, there were just next to opportunities to show work, so I just didn't let that stop. I didn't wait for an invitation. So show your work, whether it's at the mall, at a bus stop, just find a place to put it up. Get better at posting, Luis. Like,
I didn't say that.
show your work somewhere.
Okay, Luis, you do a lot of different things too. You're active, in, at least from afar, it seems like you're active in the community. So what kind of small steps in your community can someone else, you know, take to have their visual voices heard and seen?
I don't know. I don't know if I could offer any or add any advice that maybe hasn't already been out there by like programs like yours or like, you know, show if you want to show a lot. Like, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, I think that like So the question is just how to show more, or like how to?
No, so I'll restate it then.
Okay.
So you said that you have some friends of yours who, you have friends, right? Seems like you do.
Right.
Yeah, there's, okay.
I got evidence.
So how can then, I found that a lot of opportunities actually come from cultivating that community where you speak the same language with others and the same values. So how can then, let's say students or artists who are looking for that, and believe me, all over the country, that's the number one thing that people ask for in these events, is having those small steps that bridge into community. What? I'm sorry.
I'm still missing the thread. So you're saying like being in community, people that share the same language and the same values. In what context? Like
Just who you like. How do you cultivate your community? How did you cultivate your community of artists?
how do I cultivate my
There you
community of
go.
artists?
And so what are those small steps that somebody can take that you took?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for clarifying. I think what's worked for me is like to remember why you started making, why you're an artist, and that love and passion. Like I think that the way that I first started my community, like I started my art practice in Chicago, and I would just always go to like certain types of galleries, and then it's just like thinking about like, my advice is like, return to that passion and that love and just make friends and be in community. Don't think about it as networking. Don't think about it as like, don't think about what you're gonna get out of the situation.
Right.
Some of the most beautiful experiences that I've had in my life in my art career, I've never expected them at all. You know, this gallery, just really quick, I used to go, like Linda Warren Gallery in Chicago, and I was
I love her.
Yeah, I went there all
She's
the time.
closed.
Yeah, she closed. So I'd go there all the time, and I made so many friends, and like no one even knew that I was an artist. And then one time I had a solo show, a small little solo show, first solo show in Chicago, and this person that I used to talk to, you know, Chicago people, was Robin. And then Robin was like, oh, I told her about my show, and then like Robin's like, oh, I'm going to see your show. I'm like, okay, great, you know. Went to go see my show. Next time I go to Linda Warren, I walk into the gallery, and like, this is like a scene out of a movie. Like, people just started clapping at me, and they were like, we didn't even know you were an artist. Like, you know, and Robin had written, Robin is an amazing art writer and curator in Chicago.
What's the last name?
Robin, sorry Robin if you're watching.
I'm sorry, put you on the spot, right?
Yeah,
So that we
I'll
can.
send you Robin's.
We should speak so highly of this person.
Yeah, Robin is amazing. I love you.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. But I get that.
But the point is that like, art world, we're people, right? We can sense if you want something from me or not. We can sense BS. We get it. So just go there and make friends and be there. I love coming to places like this because I love the artwork. I love like shared language, shared value. It's right here. Like just go to these places and be yourself and like just connect with people. Don't have expectations. Be kind. Be easy to work with. You know, take care of yourself and
Great.
you know, trust.
Jennifer.
Gosh, how do I add to that?
But you can, but you have different experiences too.
Yeah.
And just even seeing like, I mean, I would imagine when you go to residencies and other places, you bring those people with you in your mind experiences and share those people with others. And that's one small step, right? But also a small step that seems like, not trying to put words in your mouth, but is applying for everything that fits.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if you're talking about value and creating value, I think that's really important, right? It's like, as artists, we have to learn to say no,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Because, I mean, professors were all the time getting emails like, we want a student to do X project, it will be really good exposure.
You can dive exposure.
No pay. You know, so it's like, sometimes we need to say no if it's not the right timing, not the right opportunity, if there is no compensation. But also working, and maybe this was what, to kind of tag team off some of the ideas here, being proactive in developing the opportunities that do fit what we're to reach out. I've been known to tell students, don't leave an opening until you talk to 3 people that you don't know.
That's cool.
You know,
That's a small
or
step.
even just to reach out to the person whose work, again, when we worry about hierarchies and things, like the person whose work you really like, why not reach out and actually have a dialogue? Like, I really like the way that you made that painting. Can you tell me what brand of paintings you, I don't know, but so that there can be a conversation, finding that mutual language.
That's great. Okay, last question, brief. Okay, ready? Drum roll. Okay, I asked everybody here, they're gonna share what they need. Starting with you, what do you need?
What do I need?
Hey, don't talk about money. You have to leave that. No, the reason why I say that is that's a given, right? We all need that to be able to, buy things to live. So what are the things, what is one thing that you can think about that you need right now in your life?
I think the one thing that when I think about that I need, and this is something that we haven't hit on, but it's been really crucial to my practice and to my career in a lot of ways, and that's accountability. There's been times I've been an international or a regional artist group and having someone that you're talking to who is just being like, okay, did you actually reach out to that person? Did you get those 10 hours in the studio? And I think that's something that a lot of times, I know I've benefited from, artists can benefit from as well.
It's great, perfect. Luis.
So real quick, Robin Lucen.
Will you spell your name? What is that last name?
Lucen, D-L-Z-U-N.
Okay.
I can send it.
No. I just want to make sure because we are alive.
Yeah.
So, okay.
She cries.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I do want to give credit where credit's due. So go ahead. What do you need?
I don't need anything. I have everything I need.
Really? Amazing. Okay. What about health, retirement? Do you have health care, retirement? I know that's personal, but a lot of artists don't have that. So.
Yeah, but I think it's about the realities that we choose to exist in, right? Like, I do have health care, luckily. I have decent, pretty good health, but also like to be thinking that artists, like I honestly feel that I have everything that I need right now, and I'm at the place where I need to be, and I love myself deeply. I'm very spiritually connected, I'm grounded. It's about abundance and not scarcity, and like, I know that there's a lot of realities out there. I've had back injuries in the past where I couldn't, that took me down for like 3 years. I couldn't wash plates because I couldn't stand. So like, I understand like what is it that we need, but also we already have everything that we need. And maybe, I think a lot about gratitude. And
Oh, absolutely.
being present. And yeah.
Great.
Just what do you need? I need 3 things.
I'm going to be brief because I have to open it up to everybody.
Super great.
Okay, go ahead.
1, follow Mallrats on Instagram and participate in the shows. If you're a teacher, tell your students to come and bring their work, especially
Did you
if
hear
you've
that?
never had a show before. Students, this is a great place to fill your resume. So do that. If they want to volunteer and help, amazing. We need help because we install the whole show in 2 hours. So we need help.
That's amazing.
It's bipolar, this one makes you do. 2. The second thing I need you to do is contact institutions and tell them how much you want to see local contemporary art on their walls. So if you walk into a bank and there's nothing on the walls, go and pester the manager and say,
That's a great idea.
I want to see more art here. I would come here more often if there was art on the walls. So tell the Arboretum that you love seeing contemporary local art and I want to see more. They will do it. They will do it more if you tell them that you want it. So just be annoying. I can help you with that. And my third thing is go and do something weird. Like to people just for go put a little note in their mailbox.
Is that what you need?
Yes, I need to know people are doing weird things.
Okay.
Just do something that makes you write a note to someone and tell them how much you love them. Do these things that we're not conditioned to do.
No, I do that every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'd like to open it up to the audience, or to you all, not audience participants. So what do you need? And it doesn't mean that you don't have to answer it just if we're all part of this ecosystem. So if you don't feel you're an artist, you should shout out what you may need or questions for these wonderful people.
need y'all to like and subscribe.
Then you'll start posting.
Instagram.
Erica Diamond, who I love, love, love. And I'm very grateful to her and Sarah for their contributions to the community, but also to the arts community across the country. So thank you.
I need for Jeannie to bring 5 hours of sleep.
Yes, yes.
I'm not. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, not because I'm dying, but I know that it will always be so intense.
Okay, but what do you need for you?
I passed. I'm going to do question instead.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I think you touched on this, Jennifer, talking about applications. That first year coming out of school, how many applications you put in. And then having heard how all of the many things that all of you do to fill up your time, there's a finite amount of time. How do you decide what to apply for, how many things to apply for? Because there's got to be some kind of pattern on that. And there's something that's got to give for you to put the time into that.
Great question.
And that's something I've been thinking a lot about lately. Like, sometimes I'm just like, no more. I can't do this. But then, you know, get opportunities to apply for them or reach out. So I'm curious, maybe for a shot.
I don't apply for anything. I just make what I want. I want Archers of the Walk to do that. I want to do a 24-hour children's book, banned book read aloud, so I go do it. I don't apply for anything.
Jennifer.
Cost-benefit analysis, right? How much is the entry fee? What's the timing? Is there another proposal I've already put together that I could bastardize to make fit? Who's going to be looking? So that's maybe not a short answer, but as I go through those, do I even have the time to get it in? Because sometimes we find that great opportunity 24 hours before it's due.
Something that's been helping me, great question, is I started writing my values and thinking about like who is the person I want to be and where do I want to be and what kind of art I want to be making, and then I have it on a whiteboard. And so whenever an opportunity comes, I go and revisit my values, so that it's like, is this opportunity going to get me to where I want to be? Then that's a yes or no. Because otherwise, I'm like writing grants all night and like and so it helps. For sure.
Great question. Other questions? Wow, that's a shame. Yes.
I'm curious about advice that you all have received that's stuck with you or that you've gone back to over the years.
When I was in grad school, my mentor said it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's been one that occasionally I have to pull out because it's just such a perfect analogy and it kind of aligns with a lot of the things we're talking about here. If you're sprinting, you can only go full out for so long, but at a marathon, you have to pace yourself and you take your time. You get water, you get snacks, you keep going. So, yes. So, thank you, Carmen Colangelo.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a real name?
Yes.
Jeannie or Luis, do you want to say anything?
Too. Staj brought a friend to visit us from Firefly Gathering, and she quoted someone who I will forget their name because such is, but she said the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And I think about that a lot. It's a good one, yeah. I'm sorry.
Who have you got a quote from somebody else who you admire?
Eat your vegetable.
That's
What am I saying? I don't know. I can't. I mean, I feel like this might not be the best, maybe advice, but like it resonates a lot with me, and it's just maybe it's like just the artist, but it's like just make the absolute best work that you can, and the rest. I would say just make the best work you absolutely can. I don't know. Something about that resonates. I feel like I also don't want to come out like endorsing the system of like making, but like return, like if you love what you do in the studio or out in public or whatever, like that sacredness, like always try to tap into that,
But Luis, you know, artists are more than makers, right? We lead with our ideas, right? And if we don't see those ideas, we sure as hell don't know how to find them. So I really believe that. So in that case, how would you then recommend some advice?
To find ideas?
No, if you were saying make the best work you can.
Yeah.
Do you spend time in your practice thinking and listening and talking to others? Is that also part of that maybe?
Yeah, that is the work.
Okay.
I mean, I'm interdisciplinary. Like, I don't, like, for me, it doesn't mean make paintings. It means, like, you know, daydreaming. Like, it means it's all of it, all of the system. Like what makes you tick? Why, what within your creativity? Like, tap into that, focus on doing that.
Yeah, because some people take it literally, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions? Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot lately about a lot of things, but I feel, okay, so in Asheville, for example, I've been here about 30 years, and I've seen over those decades that we've lost so many incubator spaces and small spaces and inexpensive places for artists to try work. Like, it's really hard if the only way you can have work be seen is you know, to pay to play. And I think Asheville went from being a place that was like almost all incubator spaces to being a place that's almost all pay to play. And I'm really concerned about what that means to creative culture when we lose, not even just as like young artists trying to come up and find their voice, but I mean, I'm in my 50s, but I'm trying things, and I can't, you know, I need spaces to experiment too. But I feel like those opportunities are falling away, and I think that we kind of live in a larger culture that's just so concerned with presentation and so far removed from this ability to just make mistakes and let the process be the process. And I want to have a question here. I guess my question is, how do you feel about that? Other than Jeannie, you create amazing opportunities for people to do that, but other than what you're doing, you know, where are those spaces and how do we create those spaces?
I think it's an exciting time to think flexibly about what could an art space be. Like, there is really nothing to stop you from going in with a bunch of friends and renting a box truck and parking it and popping the back open and doing whatever in wherever you happen to park that thing. I mean, it's an art space because you are there, and you can do until the police show up. You can do that. You could go to a parking lot and put a little Matchbox card down. If you've paid the ticket, you can park your car there, and that's your space. Like, you can make art in just about any space, as long as you're one, like low barrier to shame, like not embarrassed, that's helpful. And you're just like willing to approach it with just like a joyful heart, because people get excited if you're excited. And if you're in a parking lot with a little plastic car and you're excited, they're either going to be like, she needs help, or I'm interested. And you know, you just never know, you get 50% like of the people. It's great.
Well, and I wonder if we're not all as awesome as Jeannie, that maybe those things are easier to do within a group.
Yes.
You know, so finding the community where people are there to bounce the ideas off of, where you doing the exhibition in your living room or a parking space or a hotel room. There's endless kind of things that could happen, but sometimes getting a group of people together makes it easier.
Definitely.
Because once you start talking, then someone has an idea or someone has a space, you know, and it just kind of snowballs.
Anybody here want to do that?
Tracy, I just want to add to this. I was in New York last month, and in front of the gallery I was visiting, there was a 97-gallon trash can that was called the 97-gallon gallery. And you open the lid of the trash can, and it lit up, and there was a very cool art piece inside. Like, that is, I think, what I was just adding to what Jeannie was saying. And the ULA Art Fair is a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing.
So, you know, like, I think that all of us doing things like that would really electrify this community.
Exactly.
And I'm down to do it if anybody wants to be in my group. Because I think that bringing more stuff in is actually going to create more community for us as gallerists, dealers, artists, and art spaces.
I totally agree. And also, do you know Bad at Sports? Do you know what that is? I would write that down. So Bad at Sports is Duncan McKenzie from Chicago. And I love this guy. So funny. But what he did was, like, I don't know how many years ago it was, he was like, I really want to hear other voices of artists. So he created a podcast. Well, he takes that podcast and camps out at art fairs, at different museums. He opens the door, if you will, and he created his own space. Now, Vince, how many podcasts does he have now?
10 years worth.
10 years, I mean, a lot. He has a whole...
Like 700 or something.
Yeah, 700 or something, but part of that was he wanted also community engagement that was public, but also wanted to learn from people. So that kind of vehicle for him was natural, and he just started it.
Sharon,
And
what's his name?
What?
What's his name?
Duncan McKenzie, Bad at Sports. And it's free. You can just listen to it. He's amazing.
I'm piggyback off of that, like, because you were like, what do you need? And I was just like, immediately, like, and I guess the other educators maybe in this group could be like, oh, I need opportunities for my students. And, I mean, that was kind of the thing that came up. So I mean, that's definitely there. So I teach fine arts at UV Tech, and we're a scrappy community college. We have been next door. That's why my students work. I am absolutely shameless about being like, go look at my students' work.
Oh, that's so great.
So yeah, my first thing was like, if you need students to work with the Arboretum, like let me know. Like if you guys have like opportunities where you can employ my students, let me know. If you can pay my students, because I'm right there with you, Jennifer. Too much do I sit in committee meetings and they're like, could an art student just make a watercolor map for us? And I'm like, could you pay them? Because I think that's the problem I see a lot with this, not just this idea of devaluing art, but the label of student art. And that's kind of like where I'm like, they're making art, it's art is art. But then when you were like, and my name is Ani, by the way.
There you go.
When you were like, where are those spaces? I was like, that's what I need too, is, so I'm thinking of long term, like I love teaching, but at the same time I love teaching, but I don't know if it's in academia forever. So I'm like, I need a space for community print shop, because that was like one of the loves that I had when I lived in Kansas City, Missouri, was a community space that people could come and they could have fun, and they could play, they could fail, we could make art, they could come camp out in that space and make art, or they could just try something. And so I am same kind of boat where I'm like looking around Asheville being like, where are those spaces for, not for tourists, not for people who have like price barriers, not for also like, again, everything's turning into a pay lot, like, not to just generate profit, like, but for spaces for creatives to be creative and to sustain that creativity. That's what I'm really interested in, is being a vehicle for making sure everybody, we all can stay creative. So I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, screw it, I'm just telling people I'm opening a community print shop. And everyone's like, cool, when is that happening? And I was like, I don't know. And I'm just going around and asking, I see for sale signs or rent signs, and I just knock on doors and I'm like, hey, how much is this rent?
That's really great.
I can't tell you, I'm not gonna name names, but I've definitely had someone be like, oh honey, you can't afford this rent. And I'm just like, cool, I probably don't want to rent from you either.
Have you talked to churches? Okay, they don't use their space during the day that often, and if they're not running a preschool, who wants to? They might be amenable to renting the space for you part-time. I know of other programs that have done it, and you just have to essentially be able to pack all your things away. You might be able to do an in-kind thing with them, so you would trade like some access to the space, some classes for the members, that kind of stuff, but maybe you can trade time like that.
Well, and I used to have a studio in a church because the building was much bigger than their needs, and so they charged me $100 rent per month for a it was a little bit of income for them, and then they knew someone was in the building, so it may be worth, as Jeannie's suggesting, looking into those kind of things, so.
If you're embarrassed, don't really think of it.
I'm actually not really embarrassed anymore. No, I mean, I flat out just be like, I ask people for free stuff all the time, which is fun because sometimes they like pivot on, sometimes they're like, yeah, whatever. Like, I've got a coupon wrap at a vendor fair, and just been like, hey, can you give me a free press? I'm trying to open a community space. And they're really nice, they're like, we can actually give you a discount on a floor model, and I'm like, sold. You know, like, I'll take whatever kind of leeway I can get from people.
I love though what you said, that's a small step in raising the value of saying, no, they have to be paid, your students.
Oh yeah, I hear that so much.
Oh, I hear it all the
It's good
time.
for them to get the experience, and I'm like, but they've had these, they made the thing, they have the experience.
They have to get
Like,
paid. It's great.
I was like, the experience is getting money for the thing that they are making a living out of. That is the experience they need.
Okay. You had a question.
Oh, I did, yeah, I think it's a two-part question. The first part is, I've personally been the beneficiary of a lot of really generous people with a social interaction part of their practice, community engagement part of their practice, and I feel like as I move into a phase in my career where I'd like to give back, I don't have the resources necessarily to do that. So the first part of that question is, where do I find resources, not for me, but for people that I'm trying to encourage and invest in? So part one. Part two is, like, where do you find the belief in yourself that you have something to offer? Like, where does that come from?
Okay, can I answer this one? Okay. I'm gonna answer the second part first. In terms of belief, like for my art practice, my art practice is in service of something. So I do public practice, large scale events, they're in service of a thing, of a need within the community, of something that's hurting. So it feels, in a sense, like mission based. I'm doing this thing for a reason, to serve a higher good. The first part, when you talked about resources and wanting to find resources to share with other people, think laterally about what you have. Like, do you have a ton of connections? Do you have people on your Instagram account? Could you share that instead? Like, could you do the embarrassing thing of saying, come have coffee with my friend, and like make that personal introduction? Because that might be all it takes for one person to get to the next step. But it involves you taking your time, and our community our world really stops us from spending time in that way. It dissuades us from doing it. So if you were to say, I'm going to take my time and help this person, I think that's an incredible sharing of your resources. And to be like, I know a gallerist, I know a magazine person, I know someone who can get you a job, and connect them like properly, not just like pass on a name or a business card, but actually make it personal. Sit down, let's talk type thing. That's a huge gift.
Luis, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. Beautiful question, I think I'm curious to talk to you more about it, because I feel like you're already doing it, and these are really good questions, yeah. But I think very practical, like grant writing, right? Like you could probably find like a project, you can think of a project, and then within that budget, you can bring in, to pay folks, like, I know that's probably like a little more time consuming and like that, but I don't know, I was like a little nervous to try to answer, like, how do you answer the question, like, about belief, like, and then I was thinking back about, like, something that I've been thinking about, like, just to be in service. So, like, you don't need to believe in yourself to be in service, like, go be of service, you could, like, maybe put your, not I'm not saying you, but, like, whatever that individuality or whatever that thing that's eating away at you, that you don't believe in yourself, is very important to work through that and figure that out. But you could help others along the way before you figure it out, yeah. Also, I know that you're like already doing really amazing things with folks there. So.
You have any thoughts?
Well, I really like Jeannie's idea of like spending time, and it's like, I think that is our most important currency. So even like starting to like the idea of an artist salon could be something just to bring people together and give up your time and help to connect people. Could be something that any of us could do that could have a huge benefit to all of the people who are involved. I think also within that, it's like, how do you find belief in yourself? Sometimes I think it's just like sharing with others to realize that you're not the only one struggling with uncertainty, you know, or issues of doubt. Every artist I've ever known deals with that, like, if not daily, at least weekly. You know, you might have a good one, and then the next time you're like, that rejection really stings. I don't know. I think so. It's one of those things. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, the more that we realize that it's not just us. And I think that helps to create that understanding that what you're doing is worthy.
Okay, one more question. Who's got it? Yes.
I got it. Thinking, Jeannie, you said something earlier about accepting limitations, and in order to be successful, you don't have to sacrifice or suffer. And I'm also a mom. I have 2 small children, and I commute to school, and I go home, and it's a 5-6 hour drive one way. I do that every weekend, because that's where my kids are. So I think what I need is, as an artist, is that that I am worthy to be here and do what I'm doing. And the time away from my kids is worthy. And how do you navigate that as a mom? Because the guilt is really heavy sometimes.
First of all, I really feel that. I'm so sorry. It's horrible that you have to carry that, as well as attempting to be a full-time student and do all that sort of stuff. It's a massive burden. And it's really hard to rationalize it, because I think there's this sort of thing of like, well, it makes me a happier person, and I'm a better mom, or, you know, and that doesn't, for me, that never felt meaningful. That always kind of felt like a trite way to explain around it. And I guess the way I managed to find a way through those feelings was thinking, what would I tell Harriet when she was 30 about what I was doing when she was younger? And if I was talking to her frankly, even not even 30, like even younger, and saying like, I really needed to do this. I needed to go back to school. I needed to be in community with artists. And during that time there, while I was less attentive to you, or you were in the back of the car, or you were in the studio, or you were being dragged out to exhibitions, or you were forever going to all these things, I was building a life. And I think if you can tell your kid that, and that they can see that you did something meaningful that you're proud of, I think they'll definitely be, hoping, she's 13, God knows what she's thinking, but I think you can certainly make the case for this was why I did what I did, and I think she'll be proud, your kids will be proud of you for doing that, because they will also be making those choices for themselves, whether or not they have kids. So you would say like, I built a life while you were little, and yes, I know that I wasn't there every second of the day, but you're there, I've seen you with your kids, you're so attentive, you're so there, you're so, they do not look like they are lacking love in any way, shape, or form. They're so loved, and I think that they know that even if it is a non-traditional situation that they're in, and that's okay too. Having an artist as a mom is amazing. So there's that, but get that bonus. I know, there's nothing I can tell you that will take the grief and the guilt away, other than to say like, they'll probably look at you in a few years' time and go, my mom is cooler than your mom, so.
Can I add on?
Sure,
I want to
please
give the opposite perspective of what you have now. I'm one of 6 kids.
Oh, wow.
When my mom was pregnant with the 5th kid, she went back to college to get a master's.
Oh.
And it was disruptive, but in retrospect, we all think that was the coolest thing for her to do that. And none of us feels like, we didn't get the attention we needed. Now we got dragged to this women's Catholic college and hung out with a lot of nuns. It became part of our family story. And we have so much respect for her having done that. Now, from my older age. And I think your kids will do the same.
Oh, I love that you said that. That's amazing. Yeah.
I just want to also do that because when I was in MFA, my daughter was 8 and I was doing the same thing. My daughter is now 25 and I often hear from her, hey, I remember when you did so and so. And that is so cool because now she appreciates what it is. She's becoming stronger. She knows that she doesn't have to do, move because boyfriend wants to move, or, what are my values as an individual and what I want to do for myself.
what you both have said. Anybody any parent in here want to keep going? Well, I just want to say, it's been amazing to be here as a guest. I do want to say, too, that I'm grateful, deeply grateful to Jennifer. Because without Jennifer, I wouldn't be here. So I'm grateful to Jennifer. I'm also grateful to Heather May so much and everybody at WCU. But I'm also grateful to the great friendship I have with Tracy Morgan and what she does. She's fantastic and taking a journey with her. And then, where's Colby?
Oh, he had to leave.
Oh, thank you, Colby. And then Molly Sawyer and other artists and Sarah and Erica. This is such a great community. I've been here many times. But one thing, I just want to answer your question for a minute too, as I end. So one reason why we started a nonprofit is for the last 20 years, I've been asking, what can I do for you? And I always end a conversation to say, what can I do for you? Because oftentimes people don't get that question, ever. But we also started a nonprofit because we make connections. We're matchmakers. So I will connect people, like it happened yesterday at WCU. I was in the room with students, and one of the students noticed that Michael Scoggins, who's an artist, was on my LinkedIn page. And he said, oh my God, you know Michael Scoggins? Wow, I love his work. I connected them, we did a video of him, and then I called Michael, put the phone to Daniel, and now we're connected. I forced these things. It wasn't really forced. They loved it. He loved it. He wanted it. I'm saying that was very physical. Yes, but Michael loves it. I guess I think the key is to be free, like they were saying, with connections. And that question's a very powerful question. What can I do for you? So if you all, I'm asking you that question, and you can email me, I'll get to you in a couple weeks, or you can text me. But I'm really grateful that we're here. So thank you for having all of us. I think we're going to have books. The books I would just share with you are platforms for these engagements. Like I said, I split the royalties with each of the artists, and they retain their copyright. Last year's royalty was $7.25 each. So we're not doing this for the money at all. I don't even know what I can buy for $7.25 now. I really don't. But Starbucks coffee, I don't drink. Starbucks tea, right? $7.25 for tea. Wow. Thank you. Anyway, but I'm saying that we don't do that, but what we did these books to share in artists' own words, how they sustain their creative lives, and sharing those pathways that oftentimes are not revealed, except in conversations like this. So thank you for having us. Thank you for making this happen. Thank you all for sharing your knowledge. And we'll be here, and if you want to come up to them and keep talking, or we'll be here signing books. So thank you very, very much.